YouTube, what it do? It's your boy Big Will Allen Creative, and I'm back with another video. So, this video wasn't really planned or in my plans, but a friend of mine asked me a question. And it was, if I started over again with no gear, no type of budget, or just starting all over again, but knowing what I know now, how would I do it differently? And it was a very good question. It's a question I didn't think of, but once I started to think about it, part of my advice is something that I don't see a lot of people on here talking about. At least I haven't seen. So let me get a sip of this good old coffee. And we'll go from there. Now, before I even get into the meat and potatoes of the videos, just want to say two things. Two pieces of equipment that at the end of 2022 really saved me in a lot of situations. And going into 2023, I will be using on a constant basis. Number one, what we're talking on now, the audio. These DJI wireless mics, I have one on now. It's what I use for all my videos. And I will say, DJI Bravo, these are probably the best wireless mics I've used. They're just so easy, and everything that comes with them, they are just life-changing. I've used the Rode wireless ones before, and I hated them. I ended up just using shotgun mics and other forms of audio. I'd rather go that route than use those mics. So I was a little hesitant to try the DJI ones, and once I did, I am glad I did. The other one I can't show you because it's on the camera as well, but it is. Let's see if I can get that to focus. The Moment Cinebloom filters. I'm using the 10% one, and it seems to be my go-to. I love it, not because it really... I said I was going to stop using this word in 2023, but to me it doesn't really give it a cinematic look as much as it just softens the highlights, which I guess that is, in a sense, a cinematic look. But for me, it takes that digital edge of film or cameras, because a lot of newer cameras, they're so good, they're so crisp, they're so clear that, they just have a digital look to them in a sense. And it kind of just takes that off for me and just makes it the way I want it to look. So if you see any of my footage since probably, I want to say, mid-November till now, I use this filter all the time. I don't really take it off unless I need to. All right. Speaking of, if I was to start over, and mind you, this list is not in a 1 to 10 importance to unimportance. It's just random thoughts, because I didn't script this video. Like I said, it wasn't really planned. I just kind of wanted to shoot from the heart. And if I was to do this again, I would say I would focus on learning lens and lighting first. Throughout this journey, no matter what camera body I've gone to, I've always found out that my lens choices and my lighting choices always change. Number one, lighting. When I first started out, I used to watch reviews on lighting, and the person doing the reviews, their video would look so good. It was bright, but it just had this darkness to it, and it was just like everything I wanted in my videos. And I would get that light, and I would hook it up, and, the reviewer said, I use my light on 40%, and I would put it on 40%, not knowing nothing, and my video would never look good. It would be too dark, and it would be too this, or I could never get it to look right. And then I learned lenses, and I learned aperture, and I learned what is second on my list, the difference between crop sensor and full frame. Had I known what I know now, I would have known that the person that's doing this lighting review is using a full frame camera to do this review, and I'm using a crop sensor camera trying to get the same results, not knowing that I could potentially get those same results, but I can't have my lighting at 40% like they do because they're on a full frame system that's letting in so much light, and I'm on a crowd sensor system that's not letting in as much light, so I need to double their 40%. So if they're at 40%, I need to potentially put my light at 80%. And I didn't understand those things. And that's also the trick to when you get on here and you watch YouTube videos on how to, or what do I need, or this, that, or the third. If I known what I know now, I'd have dialed that back some and just learned the basics first. Because you get on here and you get so much information from all these creators, and I'm not saying they're wrong or what they're saying isn't correct, but what I'm saying is you get jumbled up and you get to thinking that this is what I need and that's what I need and this is what I need, and then you get to a point where you don't really still know what you need. Had I known about lenses and lighting first, when I first invested, instead of investing in a nice camera that I did, or at least I thought was nice at the time, and not really worrying about lenses or investing in cheaper lenses and cheaper lighting, I could have potentially saved myself time and money, because had I invested in a decent lens and a decent light and a body that was just capable of doing what I needed to do, I would have been able to get the look I was going after, instead of having to go through this camera and go through this and that to get there. It wasn't until I really, started learning about aperture and ISO and all these things that I understood, okay, this is what is important, this is not, or this is what should be priority, and this should come second, third, whatever. Back to learning crop sensor versus full frame. Now, I'm not saying learn it because, one's better than the other, because in my opinion, I've used both, and I think each sensor has its advantages. Now, the overall census is that full frame is better because you get in more light and you get more depth of field, and that's all fine and dandy, and that's nice, and that's why I went to the A7 IV over the FX30. But my number one thing I hate is when some of these creators, they kind of look down on crop sensor cameras like they're inferior or budget, and it's like, I don't understand, because I've seen people take a ZV-E10 and make a short film or a little cinematic piece that looked like it came from a $5,000-$6,000 red camera, and it's just like, it's not really about what you're creating with as much as it is as to what you're creating and what you know. Now, don't get me wrong, because I hate when people say gear don't matter, and I used to say gear don't matter, and in a sense, gear doesn't matter, but gear doesn't matter until it matters. People used to say to me, invest in glass and just get a body that is usable until you need the body you need. And I didn't listen, and I kind of wish I did, because had I did, I would have had a couple G Master lenses that I was going to invest in. And then now having the camera that I would have had the full package that I want. And now I don't have that package because I did it a different way. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy with the package that I have, and I create with that package, and I have no issues with that package. All I'm saying is, had I learned the right way, things could be so much different for me right now. And that's why I'm trying to get you to understand, learn. Because like I said, you don't know what you don't know. My other tip is practice. Practice, practice. There's a few reasons why you want to practice as much as you can. One, you want to get good at composition. You want to get good at, using your camera and learning your camera and knowing your camera, you also want to get good at talking on your camera. I take my camera everywhere with me, whether I'm going to the grocery store, I'm just going, whatever I'm doing, and I'm vlogging. Now, you may never see those vlogs, but I take that footage and I edit it like it's a vlog I'm going to upload and go through the whole process and just watch it at the end. And I show myself, okay, you could have did this different or you could have did that different, because I want to get good at it. There's plenty of little short clips that I've made emulating film scenes that I've seen, or emulating this, or trying this and trying that. Like, those moments are your moments to practice and learn things, get better at your craft. I can sit here and do a little short film sequence, and it's not for me to put out. It's just for me to practice. Maybe I want to practice that lighting situation or that composition situation, or, maybe it's a situation where I just want to get more comfortable talking in this situation. And it's just like practice, so that way when you go to actually make your video and you hit the record button, that's not the first time you've tried that talking or that look or that situation. You've already done that situation. So when you go to record your actual video that you're going to put out, you know what you're doing already. Another thing is, when it comes to practice talking, I would also practice how you're going to do things. Now, some people are comfortable in front of the camera and can just hit record and talk and everything's fine and dandy. Some people can, just write bullet points. Like, they can talk in front of the camera and be fine, but they need, some type of board behind the camera or in front of the camera or just around that they can look off and kind of stay on focus and have their notes and things of that nature. And then there's people who, they're comfortable to talk, but they can't just, let it out as soon as they hit record. So, they script everything. And part of it's because they want to be prepared. They don't want to miss a point, or they don't want to have a bunch of jumbo, or, there's different reasons. But the point is practice. Get comfortable. If you're not comfortable with just talking or having bulletin points, then practice script reading, so that way when you record your video, it isn't the first time you've read that script, or it isn't the first time you read a script. You're very comfortable with script reading because you've practiced it. There's some creators that script their whole video from start to finish, and you can tell. And then there's creators who know what they're doing, they've practiced, and they script their whole video from start to finish, but you would never know. And that's why I say practice is really important. Audio. I am an audio guy, and trust me, I don't care if you have a $8,000 video set up and the best lighting in the world, and your video is the best short film or best YouTube video that's ever been created. If your audio is no good, people will click off just as fast. So get acquainted with audio. The DJI wireless mics, if you're doing talking head situations, the Sennheiser, I think that's how you say it. I have this mic and I love this mic, but the Sennheiser Mic 200 is my favorite mic. It's only but this big, and I always have it on my camera when I go out and shoot, because I hate having the wireless mics and having to worry about turning them off or turning them on or this, that, or the third. But there's plenty of audio options from cheap to expensive that will just make sure your video is either A, watchable, or B, have some of the greatest audio you've ever heard in a video. It's very important. Do not forget audio. Another thing, when you get to the point where you're ready to spend that $2,000 on a camera, or that $3,000 on a camera, and you're ready to really commit to a camera, but you're just not sure, there's ways to get that camera for a little bit of time to kind of just know, and that's renting. Try renting your gear before you buy your gear. If you're in the cusp of buying a hybrid, but you just don't know whether you want the A7 IV or the R6 Mark II, or, maybe even the S5 II that's coming out, rent each of them first and go off of that. Whichever one you actually liked with the most and connected with the most, then buy that one. And some people might be like, well, Big Will, why would I spend extra money renting a camera? And my response to that is, would you rather spend an extra $200-$300 on making sure you're going to have the camera that's going to make you happiest and do what you need it to do? Or do you want to spend $2,000, get the camera, realize it's missing something that's nagging at you, or, missing something that's really hindering your work, and now you got to switch your whole system up or do this and just have the whole headache? Because anybody who's really into this and really is into gear will tell you it could be something as simple as a button placement on the camera that can bother somebody to the point where they're ready to sell that camera. There are certain little things that nag us that we just can't get over, and it makes us ready to get rid of the gear, ready to move on and change things up. And that's just that. And my last tip, most important tip, and I don't really care who doesn't like me saying this, but my last tip is stop watching and hit record. I spend so much time in the past watching YouTube videos, trying to prepare and get ready to create videos, that sometimes I get caught up in it and I don't create myself. I can't create what I want to create and do what I want to do if I'm constantly watching other people. No, I'm not saying don't watch YouTube. Obviously, I'm here on YouTube making a YouTube video for you to watch. But what I am saying is don't get caught up in watching all these how-to, what should I videos that you forget to even try, to even create, to do what you want to do in the first place. Even if you see a video I do, you want to create, and you go to type it in, and there's 100 of them, still record that video, because it could be a practice situation, or maybe your video has something in it that somebody hasn't seen and teaches somebody something new. Maybe your video catches fire because your personality shines. You never know. Just create. What are you looking to do? Figure it out. It's your boy Big Will Allen Creative. If you want to know why I traded the Sony FX30 for the A7 IV, go watch the last video. Until next time, let's talk about it.